It is an honor today to have Donzel Leggett on the podcast. Donzel's the principal at Destiny Development Delta LLC, a U.S.-based international consultancy focused on executive leadership development. He's an accomplished senior executive with over 32 years of experience leading and driving business growth at Fortune 200 consumer product companies. During his career, Donzel successfully led large, diverse organizations of up to 10,000 team members dispersed across the globe through highly complex and dynamic environments. Donzel's career reflects a proven track record of unparalleled results while leading transformational change on a global scale with his unique combination of strategic vision, executional excellence, and inspirational leadership. As the magnitude and demands of his leadership accountabilities continued to expand, Donzel developed the proprietary leadership models and methodology that are now at the center of the Destiny Development Delta LLC consultancy. To inspire and empower individuals to determine their goals, take charge of their lives, and shape their destinies, Donzel is launching Make Your Destiny Happen, a transformative guide that distills over 30 years of Donzel's personal experience and professional success into a practical, actionable framework for envisioning one's destiny, creating a life plan, taking control, and achieving lasting transformation. Donzel, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, William, and thank you for the introduction. You brought tears to my eyes, literally.
Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
As we were putting it together, I was excited. I can't wait for this conversation. This is going to add so much value.
I hope so. You know, one of my passions is trying to help people. As you mentioned, I wrote the book, Make Your Destiny Happen. And, the main driver in writing that book was to give everyone the opportunity to make their life dreams happen and to ensure that they also achieve personal well-being and balance in their lives. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here to share.
That is something that is elusive, is often discussed, but rarely experienced. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation. I want to start with you sharing a little bit of your story with our listeners. I hit a few of the high points, but how did you get started?
Yeah, I'm originally from Key West, Florida. Not everyone thinks that there's actually people who are from Key West, but I'm actually from Key West, born and raised. Go back several generations. My great grandparents came over from the Bahamas in the 1860s. So our family been there a long time. And so a lot of growing up there was, kind of on an island, but similar to any other small town across the globe where grandparents are around, great grandparents, cousins, aunties. So I grew up with a lot of family, a lot of people watching out for me, got a lot of guidance. But the difference in Key West from a lot of other small towns is because it was a tourist attraction. We had people from all over the world coming through. And there was a big naval base, a large military presence. We had people from all over the country there. So I got exposed to a lot of different people, a lot of different languages, cultures, everything. And that really shaped me quite a bit. I left there when I was 17, went to the Midwest to Purdue University and was there studying, but also playing college football. I was there for 4 years. I played. Then I stayed on for a couple more years, got my master's degree, and met my wife. We've been married for 31 years. It'll be 31 in September. We have 4 adult kids, or young adults. So they range from 32 down to 24. And, it's been a great ride. As you mentioned, I had a long career in corporate America. And the biggest thing that I learned throughout my career that really impacted a lot of the stories in the book are represented from my career. No matter where you meet people and where you engage them around the country, around the world. And I work with people ranging from Southern Ohio to the East Coast, the West Coast, Missouri, or around the world, whether it's in Mexico or Canada, China, Malaysia, Greece, Australia. People all want the same thing. They want to be viewed as individuals, not as numbers. They want to feel like someone cares about them. They want to take care of their families, and they want the opportunity to have agency over their lives. And if you can connect with people and you spend the time to do that, even if you don't speak the same language, they can feel it, they can understand it, and it crosses across all these boundaries that we believe are up that keeps us apart. If you really care about people and you want to help them achieve those things, they can feel it. And you can achieve some great things, not just for them, but the magical thing is for the organization, the overall goal you're trying to strive for. So that's how I was able to get such great results, at the same time help transform people's lives. And so I want to take that, put that in this book, but that's kind of what I'm all about.
I often say that one of the best ways to impact your bottom line is to view the people that you lead on your team as actual 3D human beings.
Yes.
not as cogs in a machine. And it resonates so deeply with what you're saying, because I believe that is a way to make a dramatic difference. You talk in your book about creating a life plan.
Yeah.
That's an interesting phrase. I'm curious, how do you define that? And for the listeners who are wondering, how do they get started creating that?
Yeah, life plan to me is the strategic plan of your life. It's the guide path of where you want to go. And most people, like you mentioned, I've led organizations over 10,000 people. I've had one-on-ones or small group discussions with over 10,000 people, literally.
Wow.
I've spent over 50,000 hours in those discussions, just one-on-one. If I take it into small groups to consider even outside of work, it's probably 100,000 hours. So if you think about Malcolm Gladwell's rule, 10,000 hours to master a skill, I've done that 10 times. I mean, so I know people, right? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not saying I'm anything like that, but I do know people from all over the world. And the one thing I could tell you for sure is when I would ask them the question, where do you want to be in 20 years? Less than 10% could answer that question.
Oh my goodness.
Less than 10%. Most people don't sit down and really think about where they want to go long term and whether that will make them happy or not. You have to bring things together, your professional, your family, your financial, your community, and your well-being all together to say, this is where I want to go. Right. And so when I was about 24 years old and I was just starting my professional career, 24, 25, some things happened in my life. And I said, I have to think about what I want to do and where I want to go. My wife and I were not married at the time. I wanted to make sure she understood and I wanted to know where she wanted to go. So I had this idea of drafting this life plan. And I imagined, okay, let me look 40 years down the line to when I'm 65. What do I want to be doing at that time? What would I want to accomplish? How do I want to feel? As I look back in those 40 years, am I proud? Am I sad? Am I regretful? Those are the questions I ask myself. Those are hard questions. People don't like answering those questions, right? But I did that. And then I started breaking it down in, okay, professional, financial, family, what I want to do in the community. And how does all that make me feel? And I started making tweaks because I wanted to make sure I could look back and say, yeah, I feel good about that. That's what started the idea of my life plan. And once I had that vision, I started working back in 5-year increments. Okay, what would I have been doing at 60? What about 55? So that's kind of how the life plan came about. So I've had this life plan, for, now it's been 30 years at least. And I've actually on track. Now, I've made some adjustments here and there because, hey, the world changes. And that's the great thing about the Destiny Development Delta model. It's all based on the fact that the world is dynamic and so are you. And we all need to make adjustments. But it's always better to have a game plan and make adjustments than to have no plan at all. And then you're kind of just like scrambling, right? And so that's kind of where it came from. And, I talk about the book, Where Do You Get Started? And I just kind of mentioned it. It all starts with you have to be authentic with yourself. And a lot of times I think we get into a mode, especially today with social media having such a big impact and being so available to us, it tends to make us think what we should be doing, what we should look like,
Yes.
what we should think like, instead of put that down and say, no, who am I really? What do I really want? And it's okay to have weaknesses. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay because I have to embrace that because I need to factor that in to what I want to do long term. And once you have that authentic thought about yourself, then you can start feeling confident in yourself and be assured in yourself. Then you can start that process of thinking again. Okay, and if 40 years down the line is too long for you to think 10 years, think 20 years. But really sit down and think, okay, where do I want to be? How do I want to feel? At least start there.
That's good.
And so in the book, I have a model that takes people through this process of how to get there. But that's the number one thing I always try to tell any young person, anyone that's closer to my age. It's never too late. No, we don't know. I don't know if I'm going to live another minute. I mean, I literally could have cardiac arrest right now. That could happen. But I can tell you, if it did, I'm not regretful because I know I'm on track to where I want to be. And I want everyone to feel that. Right. So anyway, that's a long answer to your question, but you can see I got a lot of passion about this.
Well, no doubt, and rightly so. And I love that phrase, no regrets.
No regrets.
If this is it, no regrets, because you had a plan and you've been executing that plan. It's impossible to hit a bullseye that you can't see, that you don't define. And what you have done is increased clarity, which I think is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. And now you help other people to do that very thing.
Absolutely.
For the listeners who are like, well, I have somewhat of a plan. I have an idea or a sense, but I feel like I'm not making traction. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people fail at their version of what you're describing?
Yeah. Again, it starts with that idea. Have they really spent the time to define a real plan? You have to have a real plan that you're very confident in. A lot of times people have a plan they think is a good plan, but it's usually based on someone else. Oh, my dad did this, so I'll do that. Oh man, I read about Elon Musk. He's doing this. I should do that. They put he does these, let me do that, kind of a thing. Versus, wait a minute, what about me? What am I really wanting to do? And what's my strengths? What do I need to get better? And let me put that on paper. So that's the number one thing. It's just doing that work, as I mentioned earlier. But the second thing is the discipline to actually consistently make it happen. And so the model that I have has two phases. It has the first phase, which is transforming your own personal leadership. All of us are leaders. You don't have to be the leader of a podcast like Dr. Attaway here is. William himself, he has a podcast. People will call him a leader because he has his own podcast. You don't have to be, the governor of a state, to be a leader. You don't have to be the CEO of a company. A cashier at Costco is a leader.
Yes.
Right? The dental hygienist you go to cleans your teeth is a leader. Why? Because they're the leader of their life. And what I want people to recognize, you have to be the leader of your life. So the first piece is transforming people to take charge of their lives as leaders, know themselves, understand what they want, build a strategic plan. But then the next piece is operationalize that leadership, build the discipline to actually make it happen, which is hard, tedious work. Every day, you got to live up to okay, I have to do this. So we have a plan. I have a process that basically identifies, here's how you keep yourself motivated and inspired. Here's how you make sure you're clear on what you want to do. Here's how you make sure that you have a plan that's everyday actions I will take. And then here's what I'm going to do to keep making myself better. Because as I mentioned, the world changes, it gets tougher, it gets harder, storms come. You got to be better and prepared to stand strong. That's where people tend to fall down. It's the execution, because that's the tedious part. And we tend to fall off. It's kind of like, when all of us have our New Year's resolutions and we're all happy and I follow about it on January 1st. And then by February 15th, we're already worried about, I guess tax season's coming and I got to forget about that stuff. You got to stay focused.
That's really good. That's so good, man. You write in the book about the importance of creating a connection with the people that you work with, people that you meet, but not just any connection, a personal connection.
Yes.
This grabbed my attention, and I'm curious. You must have a lot of connections that you have built through the years, a whole lot of relationships. How do you ensure personally that each one feels meaningful?
I'm kind of saying a lot of the same things, but it all starts with authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, one thing, if
That's
someone
good.
asked me to describe myself, I'll tell you what people would say about me.
Hmm.
If I'm not around, if you ask them, what about Donzel? They're going to tell you I'm authentic. They know that what I'm saying to them, they can believe it. They can trust me. I'm not trying to put on a front. I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. I'm authentic. I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Hmm.
So, you can tell how I'm feeling. I don't hide that. I want you to feel that, right? And I'm willing to share love. I'm willing to share love. I believe that everyone has something good in them. I really do.
Hmm.
And there's several stories in the book where I'm interacting with someone who you would think we'd be enemies. But we become very close and they're big supporters. And the reason is, again, when they meet me, no matter what their first impression is, pretty quickly they say, okay, this guy's authentic. He's not
Hmm.
trying to pretend like he's somebody he's not. They see that they can feel my emotions. That's why I have so many stories where I'm interacting with people, and I still have people today that don't speak English, and I don't
Hmm.
speak their language, but we're close. That we're
Hmm.
close. And the reason is because they can feel it. And that's what they
Hmm.
tell people. We can feel that he cares about us. And so whether I'm on a Zoom call with them or a phone call with them, or if I'm in their presence, but only available for, a couple of minutes, I go out of my way to make sure they can feel and see that I see them as individual. I see them as a person. I recognize their value and I love them.
Hmm.
And that's worked for me. Now, will it work for everyone? I believe it will. If you're authentic, if you really
Yeah.
care about people, and if you really want them to be successful, they'll feel it. There's a story I used to, when one time I was in Brazil and I was there and I met this guy once. He was in a manufacturing plant, didn't speak any English. I spoke a little Portuguese. We were able to communicate a little bit. I didn't speak great Portuguese at the time. But I remember telling him through a translator how important it was for him to be safe in everything he did in that plant,
Hmm.
because he had told me that he had just had a little baby. And I said, that baby is counting on you, not just today, tomorrow, but when that baby grows to be a 20-year-old woman,
Hmm.
you have to be here. So
That's
he
right.
could feel that. So 6 months later, I went back. This guy wasn't even working that day. He heard I was coming, came in on his own time to give me a magnet picture of his baby
Oh my goodness.
and tell me how much what I said to him impacted him, because I said it out of love and care as a dad,
Hmm.
not as a vice president and just a guy working the floor, but as a father. And
Hmm.
he wanted me to know how that touched him. That's how you build these connections.
Hmm.
That's why it's important.
That's so good. We talk on the show a lot about the importance of the people that you lead feeling heard, feeling
Yes.
seen, feeling known. And as a leader, it's our responsibility to create an environment where those things are true.
Yes.
But what you just described is a whole different level. It's creating an environment so that they feel loved.
Yes.
These are core pieces of what it means to be human.
Yes.
And you create that environment for the people that you meet through the words that you speak, the attention that you give them. I love this, man. I think this is something that every leader listening can take and go execute today,
Yes.
right now. This does not cost you a nickel,
No.
but it does take intentionality. It's not just going to happen.
That's
In
right.
the book, you talk about the importance of mentors and mentees.
Mhm.
You have mentored so many different people, and I know you continue to do that to this day.
Yes.
What are some of the mistakes that you see coming from the people that you mentor?
Biggest mistake that I see is, again, defining their success in life by
Mm,
what they see others do,
mm,
not by what they truly want. And this is,
uh,
again, the key that I just want to
that's good.
continue to impress on people is, it's so easy in this day and age to be wrapped up in expectations of society.
Right.
And it's very easy for people to do that, I mean, you look at a lot of stats, they've done many studies, who's willing to really step up and, and lead something versus follow. It's one of
Right.
the reasons not a lot of people want to do that. It's one of the reasons why when they do a top 10 list of the scariest things for someone, somewhere in top 10 is going to be public speaking, because you got to
Yeah.
stand up in front of everyone else. And what I try to help people understand is, look, I'm not telling you got to get up and go speak in front of thousands of people. But what you
Mm.
do have to do is take charge of your own life,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid, because ultimately it's going to be on you anyway. So if you're trying to make decisions based on what you think others expect, all right, you're never going to be happy. And
Mm.
yeah, you can look around and see that there are people who are billionaires who treat people terribly. I just saw there's a guy who's a software company, just bought this software company, and he basically is telling all of his employees that if you're not prepared to work a minimum 80-hour work week, minimum, he's going to buy you out. He wants them to understand their life is not their family. Their life is work and getting this software company up and running, right?
Whoa.
He can do that. And I'm sure there's business people say, oh, I applaud this guy. Good for him that at least he's telling people up front. I'll give him that. He's at least telling
Okay.
people up front.
Sure.
But what we always lose sight of is we don't know how happy this guy is. People talk about Steve Jobs. He was a great guy, but he wasn't a great guy to work with and work for. So do I think he was a happy guy? I don't know. I mean, all I know is what I want and what
Yeah.
makes me happy. And what makes me happy is, striving to achieve goals I have, but being there for my kids when they had sporting events.
Yes.
Being there so my kids never could say I wasn't home.
Yes.
Making sure that my dad, I was able to take my dad to an NBA Finals game. Last year he passed away this past January,
Oh, my
February.
goodness.
He was 88, but I got to do those things. So am I sad he's gone? Yes. But do I feel great that I was able to do those things with him? Absolutely. So the biggest thing I want my mentees to understand is it has to start with, what are you trying to accomplish? And if you ask them, what's the number one question I always ask them every time I'm meeting with them? What are you trying to accomplish? How does this fit into what you want and what you want for your family? Is this making you happy? And if it's not, then you should move and do something different. You should figure that out. Even if that meant someone on my team leaving the company, if they're not happy and it's not what they want, I'd rather them go somewhere where they're happy. I'd rather them pursue something that makes them feel better, because I know that eventually they're going to talk to someone else and they're going to say, you know what? Donzel listened to me. Donzel cared about me. He wasn't just saying that to meet his own goals. He was saying that because he really did care. And if that's that they bring someone to want to come work with me at some point in time, because they know that my objective, we're trying to hit our goals while you're here, but I'm caring about you and I want you to live the life that you want for yourself. So that's the biggest piece of advice I'd give to mentees. Figure out what you want. Build a plan to get there. That's what the book's all about. I got my proof here, man.
So good. Well, and I think you've circled around so many times around this idea. I think it's so good that you have agency.
Yes.
Every person listening has agency. You get to choose, right? And
Yes.
it really is a very separate place from what we see so often in our culture, which is this idea of a victim mindset. That I'm just the victim of my circumstances, victim of everything in my life, of other people. You are presenting a very different idea that you get to choose. And I love that. I resonate with that. And I affirm that. And I hope our listeners are grabbing onto this and understanding this is truth. This is your reality. You get to choose.
You get to choose. We all have agency. And hey, don't get me wrong. There are some people who are in a very difficult circumstances. They're in
100%.
much more difficult circumstances than we are. And their agency is limited.
Yes.
But what am I trying to do? I'm saying, hey, if I can be successful and if I can make it, what can I do to set up a framework to help those folks? How can I inspire someone else out there who might be able to help someone who can't help themselves? So it's on us. Use your agency to achieve what you want and to make yourself, put yourself in a position where you can help someone else.
Absolutely.
That's what we're trying to do. And again, what does that do? It makes me happy. It makes me fulfilled. When I know that I've helped someone, I feel so much better about life, man. Again, if I have a problem and I'm gone tomorrow, I know that I was on track and I help people. Like that father that came to me that day in that plant and brought that magnet and told me, Donzel, I'm getting you this magnet because I want you to always remember the impact you had on at least one guy and one little girl, at least us. And I can multiply that, but I know I'm confident that one person, that feeling, that's like winning the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So that's what I want listeners to hear. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the difference in trying to be a reservoir of everything that comes into your life, of all the experiences and wisdom that you gain, or choosing to be a conduit and allowing that to flow not just to you, but through you for the benefit of those around you.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think both of us have devoted our lives to being that conduit. And in your book, you are all about pouring this out for the benefit of the readers.
Absolutely.
And today, for those who are listening, I want to dive into you for just a second. You know, we've talked a lot about your story and your journey and what you're doing, but you have to lead at a different level today than you did 5-10 years ago. And that same thing's going to be true 5-10 years from now. You're going to have to continue to level up. Your team, your clients, your family, they're going to need you to lead at a higher level in the years to come. How do you stay on top of your game? How do you level up with the new leadership skills that your team and your clients and everybody around you is going to need you to have in the days to come?
Yeah, man, it's always challenging myself to get better. And you know, I do think I mentioned technology a couple of times. And so I don't want people to think I'd say ignore technology. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying don't use all your time there. I mean, in the book I mentioned, I think on average, most people spend like 2.5 hours on social media a day and about 16 minutes or so on just like reading or learning, you know what I mean, on their own time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, maybe reverse that if you can a little bit. You're right. So that's what I try to do. But right now I will say that, look, I understand where the world is going, and, you know, generative AI, is, the developments that are happening are, you know, it's multiplicative, on a daily basis. If so I have to get better at that. I have to understand that. I have to understand how our financial markets are being impacted by that, by Bitcoin. I have to understand how, you know, we're going back and forth in terms of global strategies versus nationalist strategies. All these things are important to understand because they will impact people. You know, generative AI is it's already impacting millions of people. And so every day I try to spend at least 30 minutes to an hour just learning about AI, cryptocurrency, the impact of these things on marketing, on leadership, on financial markets, because for me to be able to provide context, it has to be context in this world that's changing dramatically. So I'd say that's the number one thing that I'm doing right now, because that's the biggest change. You know, over the course of my career, I would say I haven't seen a change this significant. And I've seen AI has been around for a long time. It's just that it's taken, you know, decades. You know, I remember putting in automated systems, you know, back in the early 90s that use a very rudimentary form of AI to control the process. It's just taken 40 years for them to get to a point now where, you know, they can do things like it's doing today. And I wouldn't say think, but it's certainly the ability to compute and leverage all the information on the internet to quickly come up with answers, come up with processes. It's impressive. And so I think as leaders, we all have to have that context, especially for the younger people coming up, because they've grown up with this. And it can be a positive, but it can be a negative. I mean, one quick stat I'll give you is, you know, they talked to all the top universities, did a study, asked their faculty administrators, how much do they think students are cheating with AI? Then they asked the students. I think the faculty came back, said 50%. The students said 90%.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa.
So think about how many of these students really coming out really know what they're doing. You know, and so just little pieces of context that we just have to understand and know and be able to leverage. I mean, the definition of knowledge, they asked one really smart kid at an Ivy League school, what's the definition of knowledge? For us, it would have been that we know the information,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
His answer was, no, I know where to find the information.
Yeah.
I know how to get it. I know how to, type in it. So it's a big difference. So to lead in this type of environment, we all have to continue to evolve. Right now, my evolution is I got to get better at the technology developments.
That's so good. And I think that's a challenge for all of us. There
Yes.
was a day and time where I feel like I was on the cutting edge technologically.
Yes.
That is an ever moving target. And as the
Yes.
miles on my odometer continue to climb, I find
That's
that a
right.
little more challenging than I used to.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good challenge for us all. Donzel, I'm so thrilled and honored that you would share your time with us today and so many of the insights from your book. I know folks are going to want to stay connected to you, continue
Yes.
to learn from you, and grab a copy of this book. What is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's the name of the company is Destiny Development Delta LLC. Our website is DestinyDevDelta.com. But the book, Make Your Destiny Happen, will be available starting Tuesday next week, so August 25th. You can certainly buy the book. I'd love for you to buy it and hear from you. Put a review up as well. That would certainly help me. But if you just type in makeyourdestinyhappen.com, that'll take you directly to our website. We're on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. There's not a lot of Donzel Leggetts out there. So my son and me, that's pretty much it. So you'll find me if you search for me there. If you search for Make Your Destiny Happen, we're also on Facebook and Instagram as well. I have a YouTube channel. I have a podcast that is a very short. I call it the petite podcast, the Make Your Destiny Happen
nice.
petite podcast. It's only 5 or 6 minutes per episode, and I take a lesson from the book, and then I bring it to life with a story. And in this first season, I mentioned my dad passed away earlier this year. I'm using stories from my dad to illustrate these lessons. I think the 4th episode just came out yesterday. So anyway, there's a lot of different ways to reach out, but just remember, make your destiny happen. You put that in, or you just put in my name, Donzel Leggett. There's not a lot of us out there. You'll find me.
I love it. We'll have all those links in the show notes. Donzel,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, William. I tell you, you are a great interviewer. The context that you brought to this discussion just made me even more passionate about the topic. So this is probably the most enjoyable podcast that I've been on, and I really appreciate what you are doing for the audience. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored by that. Thank you, man.